venture capital, it's like it's jet fuel. Right? So even if you have a Ferrari, if you put jet fuel into a Ferrari, you're still not going to fly, right? So for the kind of market that Bangladesh is, it really needs locally tailored funds and expectation to really help. That we think that, oh, just because amar kache oi funding ta nai, I'm not able to do this. But maybe the reality is that even if that individual had access to that, maybe 5 lakh taka or 10 lakh taka or 25 lakh taka or more, the chances of them being very successful in rolling out or bringing that product to life is still quite low. Because I think the market in Bangladesh is such is that if you have a good product, you'll find the right investors to support you. Eventually, what realized that what I had thought was the main bottleneck was funding. That if you give enough, creative people and entrepreneurs access to capital, it'll unlock a huge amount of potential. But after sort of having built the platform, I realized that it wasn't access to capital. It was more about the softer skills, about storytelling, convincing people to support your product, and having the ability to execute on the product or mission that you're set out to go.
বাংলাদেশে অনেকেই বলে what is your biggest problem বললেই বলে capital.
Yeah.
But আসলে ওটার সাথে যে লার্নিংটা এবং যে ক্যাপাসিটি বিল্ডিংটা আসলে দরকার হয়, স্কিল সেটটা যেটা সিম্পল স্কিল সেট, how to communicate and sell, ওইটা না থাকে কিন্তু often we don't realize that.
Locally suited funds available for companies. What I mean by that is like when we're investing from a VC firm and we're comparing sort of like taking a very small ownership stake in multiple companies, the success of the fund depends on how, like if each of those investments can return a 25 to 50x return. And Bangladesh as a market, I think, is it's difficult to sort of predict which company will have that like $1 billion outcome. And I think it's okay to say that maybe like none of these companies will have $1 billion outcome exit. But even if it does have $100 million or a $50 million exit, it's still a great success story.
Everyone, I'm very excited to have Waiz with me today in another episode of LightCastle Live.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, talking about our favorite topic, from one of the favorite topics for both of us, which is Bangladesh.
Right.
And why are we still here instead of not going outside? Waiz, welcome to LightCastle Live.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time. So let's get started. We know that you did your undergrad in the US, and I'm very glad that you didn't drop out. You had very exciting time there.
Yeah.
So what is your biggest reason for coming back?
So I went for my undergrad between 2012 and 2016. And around that time, I think there was this immense optimism that in terms of market timing, like that was somehow sort of like the tipping point in terms of internet access, consumer spending, the markets really transforming. So my entire time while I was in university, I had this like sense of urgency that how quickly can I sort of come back? Because if I didn't sort of make it in time, maybe I would, miss that wave. So that's primarily what led me to come back as soon as possible.
And what is this big wave and market timing that you mentioned? What's happening in Bangladesh in something like 2014-15?
In reality, what we've seen is that I think it was a little bit more naive of me to think that it was going to be one single moment where, this year, maybe internet penetration or GDP per capita hit a certain point and everything suddenly transforms, I think when thinking about Bangladesh, it's more about the progress you make over 10 years rather than the progress you make in like 2 years or 3 years time, right? So if you look at the markets between 2016 and right now, in 2016, what we thought would happen by 2019, 2020. Maybe the market didn't reach there, but sitting in 2025, I think the market is like, decade, it's exactly a decade ahead, but like it's, way ahead of where things were in 2016. I'm talking about mainly from a quantitative perspective, number of internet users, how people are spending their money, where people are spending their money. So I think the market is transforming, but I think there's sort of no magic pill that will suddenly turn Bangladesh into a consumer market of 160 million people. I think that transformation has been a little slower.
So since coming to Bangladesh, I know you have done a lot of things. I know that you started with crowdfunding platform, যেটা তুমি বলেছিলে ইউনিভার্সিটিতে you raised a lot of funds for your silver
infused athletic apparel.
Athletic wear. So I'll let you tell the story on that a bit. And then Bangladesh, what are some of the few things that you did and where are you now? If you could explain
sure.
for our audience.
So back when I was in university and I was, quite a bit into photography, videography, a friend of mine had come up with this product which was silver infused activewear apparel, but he had reached out to me for help for marketing the product, and we wanted to use crowdfunding to launch the first product. So essentially what we had done is done a pre-order campaign where in order to bring the product to market, the factory minimum order quantity was about $100,000. And we didn't have $100,000 to put in the order in the factory and then see if the products sell or not. So we had done a small video campaign and put it up on Kickstarter. And in the next 45 days, the campaign went on to raise $250,000 in pre-orders from people who believed in the product, wanted that. So it did two things for us. It validated the market that, yes, there is a need for this, and it solved our working capital constraint that we had. So over the next few years, I helped my friend launch 3-4 consecutive Kickstarter campaigns. And in total, we raised about $1.5 million in pre-orders for various products. So oita theke I think I got really, really excited about the power of internet and digital storytelling and mixing that with like innovative products. So tried building a crowdfunding platform in Bangladesh. It was called project.co. And
I remember that.
So this was around maybe 2015. So 2 years before I was set to graduate. And but eventually what realized that what I had thought was the main bottleneck was funding, that if you give enough creative people and entrepreneurs access to capital, it'll unlock a huge amount of potential. But after sort of having built the platform, I realized it wasn't access to capital. It was more about the softer skills, about storytelling, convincing people to support your product, and having the ability to execute on the product or mission that you're set out to go. So it was a lot more handheld requirement. It wasn't something which can sort of act as a platform where 200-300 creators, makers can come together, use it as a platform. So eventually that business model didn't make sense.
Because if you don't have the makers, এবং এই প্রবলেমটা আমি দেখি যে বাংলাদেশে অনেকেই বলে what is your biggest problem বললেই বলে capital. বাট আসলে ওটার সাথে যে লার্নিংটা এবং যে ক্যাপাসিটি বিল্ডিংটা আসলে দরকার হয়, স্কিল সেটটা যেটা সিম্পল স্কিল সেট, হাউ টু কমিউনিকেট and sell, ওইটা না থাকে কিন্তু often we don't realize that.
Absolutely. So I think that capital in a lot of times it sort of acts as the glass ceiling, that we think that just because amar kache oi funding ta nai, I'm not able to do this. But maybe the reality is that even if that individual had access to that maybe 5 lakh taka or 10 lakh taka or 25 lakh taka or more, the chances of them being very successful in rolling out or bringing that product to life is still quite low. Because I think the market in Bangladesh is such is that if you have a good product, you'll find the right investors to support you. It's about figuring out at what stage of your journey are you. Should you be reaching out to friends and family or angel investors for that initial 10, 15, 20 lakh taka? Or do you already have some traction and you're trying to raise institutional funding worth 500,000 or $1 million? And I think that goes without saying that for institutional funding you need traction. I think gone are the days of 2008, 2012, where just based on an idea you can sort of
fund days.
Fund days, where based on an idea you could raise money and then prove if you'll be successful or not. Nowadays, when investors are looking at even early stage startups, people are looking at revenue, traction, unit economics, in many cases even profitability, before raising the first round.
I think unit economics, especially tractions, have become, I think, আগে তো আমরা শুনতাম যে minimum viable product, I think the minimum viable revenue
exactly,
minimum revenue for you to get institutional funding as well. So moving from there, I know that from there you moved into the e-commerce industry.
So 2017, I had started a company called Telegram. I had just graduated from university 2016. I studied industrial systems engineering with some background and work on supply chain management, automation for Amazon. And then moved back to Bangladesh and tried to basically solve for two main challenges. One was that not enough consumers were online. And the second issue was last mile logistics in Bangladesh was an issue and was going to continue being an issue because of our addressing infrastructure, the cost of doing that last mile delivery, especially outside Dhaka. So by taking inspiration from successful companies like Bikash, what we thought was, if similar to how Bikash had turned a Mudi Dukan into an ATM financial service touchpoint, can we turn Mudi Dukans into e-commerce touchpoint, where it acts as an offline kiosk for you to place an order, but it also acts as a free delivery pickup location where you can order anything online, and instead of getting a home delivery for maybe extra 20 taka, you get like free delivery to your nearest pickup location. And this in parallel solved also other issues, like maybe in the middle of a meeting right now, we'll get like 5 consecutive phone calls, right? And you pick it up and you realize, oh, it's somebody saying, bhai, ami food panda theke ba delivery korte aschi, ami address khuje pacchi na. And then they'll call 3 more times to,
they will keep on calling.
So we really thought that by building out a network of Mudi Dukans which act as an offline customer acquisition channel and a last mile delivery network, we could really solve the challenges in the e-commerce ecosystem. So we raised about $500,000 in seed funding. We did a pilot in Kumilla, and then we raised another $2 million from a family office in New York and a few other strategic investors. And we were sort of on track to raise our Series B round of funding, which sort of fell through in the middle of COVID. So we were supposed to sign off the term sheet in December of 2019. That got pushed to January of 2020. That got pushed because of some travel restrictions in Singapore to February. And then when WHO announced that this is a worldwide pandemic, this is not some temporary travel restriction, all of our investors had pulled out. But essentially that entire journey taught me a lot about the difficulties of executing a business at scale in Bangladesh, but also sort of that reality check on how difficult it is to grow a B2C business in Bangladesh. And not only growing a B2C business, but raising venture funding for B2C business and being able to deliver that same like expectation of growth. When we talk about raising venture capital, it's like it's jet fuel. Right? So even if you have a Ferrari, if you put jet fuel into a Ferrari, you're still not going to fly, right? So for the kind of market that Bangladesh is, it really needs locally tailored funds and expectation to really help companies succeed.
So coming back, because I know that we had COVID, and one of the things that আমরা দেখছিলাম কোভিডের সময় যে ছিল, for a country like Bangladesh, we were supposed to be hit hard, right? But I think Bangladesh was one of the countries, I think, even during COVID, we had positive growth, right? What do you think worked for us? The health infrastructure was not what it used to be, but I think the vaccine rollout was good, and we all survived. So what do you think worked for Bangladesh back then?
I'm honestly not sure, but I think that a part of it was that we didn't have a lot of unnecessary rebels in Bangladesh. Like in many other countries, people are like, no, this is my liberty, my freedom.
Even in the US.
In the US, that no, I'm not going to take any lockdown restrictions. In Bangladesh, we genuinely saw people passing away from COVID, and we took it seriously as people. So I remember in the first few stages of lockdown, like it was serious lockdown.
Everyone was locked down.
Everybody, even if people were going out, social distancing was being practiced. So I think the fact that us as a people were paid attention to the risks of the pandemic and didn't unnecessarily rebel when we didn't need to. I think that probably saved a lot of lives. And there was like a lot of lackings from how well it was managed initially. It could have probably been managed a lot better. But I think us as people definitely played a big role in making sure that this doesn't become a devastating. It was devastating, but worse than what it was. Yeah.
And then after COVID, I know that you got into real estate, and you got to be. I think one of your couple of your videos went viral.
So it went. You think. There's a saying that you don't choose what you go viral for, right? So after having worked in the startup ecosystem and then venture capital, COVID and I had spent some time renovating the interior of an apartment in Badda, overlooking the lake, looking at Gulshan. And I posted that video of sort of like the before and after, and it went viral. It got like 500,000 views on Instagram, on Facebook, and people were like, "Oh, this is such a beautiful apartment." And I think it was a juxtaposition of the fact that it looked really beautiful. It looked like it wasn't in Bangladesh, like it's Brooklyn or something like that.
I remember.
You could see the lake, but it's actually in Badda, where the real estate cost is half of what it is in Gulshan. So I think, that might be one of the reasons why it's because it's just so surprising. So I've worked a little bit on sort of just like designing interiors, which is a little bit of my hobby, and I haven't really taken it on as a commercial project as yet, because it's really difficult as a business, because everything is very personalized and margins are quite tight.
But you also need a large working capital.
You need large working capital. And so, but I have done a few projects for like friends and family where, they gave me enough, because what I enjoy doing is the creative part of it, but what most people want in Bangladesh is that, you're a good, carpenter. I'll tell you exactly what to do. You build what I want,
So you need that freedom.
So I really enjoy the creative freedom. Most good carpenters can make anything that, you give to them, but it's the design and details that, I really enjoy working on. It's been fun.
And now that I hear you are also into designing retro cars and everything, you had this fantastic car exhibition in Awaki, and you launched Rahimoto, right?
So I launched an auto service workshop called Rahimoto, where we service all types of Japanese, European cars. We have our own tire shop where we sell Dunlop and Double Star branded tires. And cars have been something that have been my hobby since I was a kid. It's just a matter of coincidence that life has brought me back to a point where I can actually where work and my hobby kind of overlaps. And I never 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I never thought that I would really be doing, like I would be sort of in this line of work. But now that I am, I'm really, really enjoying doing it.
So I think we have been through a complex last year. I mean, the revolution happened in August, and then our reserves are down. Now the reserves are, I think, respectable around 30 billion. Inflation is slowly coming down, and we still have a contractionary monetary policy, but hopefully the interest rates will come down further as soon as we can manage inflation. And hopefully the elections are happening next year, first quarter or second quarter, right? So as a business person, right, who have been here, I think, since 2014, right?
Since 2016, but
2016. So almost 9-10 years, right? A decade, right? So what is your view of Bangladesh on the immediate future, and then why are you still excited about Bangladesh in the long term?
So I think over the last year, like you've mentioned, I think our central bank governor has done a phenomenal job at managing inflation, helping rebound reserves, and really preventing sort of like a complete catastrophe that we were like heading towards. That being said, most large decisions or investment decisions, people have kind of kept on pause just because they're waiting on the sidelines for election to happen. But I think even after elections have just happened, I think people will continue to sort of watch how any new government that comes in, sort of what are their policies, what is the market on the ground feeling like. So these short-term hiccups, or we can really tell that the economy has slowed down. The combination of high inflation and high interest rate and a pause in new investments, I think have been hurting the consumer base in Bangladesh. And forget about investments, but it's just the fact that inflation alone has really hurt consumer spending. So we will take a little bit of time to rebound from that, but longer term vision, if we're thinking about a 10-year window, I think everything that I was optimistic about back in 2016, my fault back then was that I was optimistic about it, that everything would happen within 2 years. Maybe it took 10 years to happen. So those optimisms still remain, that thinking about Bangladesh over the next 10 years, I think there's some incredible opportunities here.
I think often in short term, when we see the window, we think that there are a lot of volatilities, challenges. But if you look at long term, where we were even 20 years back from the 90s, right? From 2000 to here, I think we have seen massive development.
I can't remember the exact quote, but there's a quote along the lines of, we always overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years.
I think it's someone Warren Buffett words.
Maybe. So I can't remember it exactly, but that's how I feel about Bangladesh. That sometimes you think that, election is happening next year, or within 1 year, a lot of things will change. So those are things that we maybe overestimate, and then again, when we think about next 10 years, we always end up underestimating that.
What we can achieve.
Just giving you example about the e-commerce industry, when I had started Telegram, we used to count orders per day in the hundreds. We're doing 800 orders. Another competitor is doing 400, another is doing 1,200. The largest player was maybe doing 3,000 orders per day. Fast forward to today, less than 10 years later, we're talking about 70, 80,000 orders per day, which from 1,500 orders per day, or say in total the market was doing 5,000 orders per day, to growing to 80,000 to 100,000 orders per day is a huge significant shift. So if we look at the amount of mobile wallets that are active right now versus what was active back then, again, it's a huge growth.
People have been using MFSs for everything. আগে তো চিন্তা করা যেত না। এখন যেমন আমরা যে কোনো জায়গায় গিয়ে যদি বলি যে ক্যাশ নাই, সবাই কিন্তু বলে যে, and I think with QR codes, which is central bank is reviving Bangla QR and everything, I think this will propagate further. And interoperability too, I think there is in the works as well.
So I think I think the hardest part about sort of growing the digital economy is building out the digital infrastructure first. So when you're an e-commerce company in 2015 or 2016, you're fighting against the fact that not enough people have smartphones. Even when people have smartphones, they don't necessarily use data regularly. Even if they use data, maybe they don't have a mobile financial service and
wallet,
have money topped up on their wallet all the time. So these are infrastructure level bottlenecks that you can't solve in a day or two. And as a private company, it's very difficult for you to solve all of these issues.
Because you need they call it digital public infrastructure.
Exactly, it's a digital public infrastructure, but right now we're sort of at that critical point where enough consumers have mobile wallet up and running. It's become a normal phenomenon. A lot more people are using data regularly. I think that we went through a period of time where sort of our government tried to portray a lot of vanity metrics, like number of internet users. And they weren't wrong in the sense that, yes, there were maybe 110 million internet users, but the definition of that was anyone who's used 125 kilobytes of data in the last 90 days, which doesn't mean much at all. But instead, what we should really be focusing on is how many people are native internet users, like they're regularly using 1 to 2 gigabytes of data consecutively for 3 months. And as long as we have 25, 30 million people in the digital economy, for whom, internet is not an issue, mobile payments is not an issue, I think consumer spend or consumer behavior changes a lot quicker.
Yeah, I remember that Bangladesh still is the 8th largest economy in terms of population in the world, right?
Yeah.
It is one of the markets that still exists that has not been tapped yet, right?
Yeah.
So any last words on what do you see you doing in future? Will you be concentrating on the car industry, or you have anything else in mind? I know that you were also in the venture capital industry with Sturgeon, but what do you want to do in the near future?
So I think from what I was sharing earlier is that there are gaps in the venture capital or private equity ecosystem in Bangladesh where I don't think there's enough locally suited funds available for companies. What I mean by that is like when we're investing from a VC firm and we're comparing sort of like taking a very small ownership stake in multiple companies, the success of the fund depends on how, like, if each of those investments can return a 25 to 50x return. And Bangladesh is a market I think is, it's difficult to sort of predict which company will have that like $1 billion outcome. And I think it's okay to say that maybe like none of these companies will have $1 billion outcome exit. But even if it does have $100 million or a $50 million exit, it's still a great success story. So creating a type of a fund which sort of aligns with that reality of Bangladesh entry valuation, exit valuation, type of exit, I think that's something that I'm excited about the next few years. And then, for now, I'm very focused on sort of just the auto service business. And that's about it.
Thank you, Waiz, for making time, and we're really excited to have you here with us.
No, it's my pleasure to have us.
And all the best with both the auto business and the venture capital business.
Thank you.
And look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.